How's it going, everybody? I know I'm like a day late with this, but I'm sure you've seen enough videos of other creators that were trying to tell you about the Aztec warrior that is most likely hidden in that baby cage on Shard, and then about the Warmonger hero skin. To be totally honest, not really a fan of this skin. Looks kind of bland and is all symmetrical and all. Might as well be another armor set. But hey, I'm sure many people like it and will use it. So prepare for a barrage of Oveja next week. What we will do here today is the usual rundown of what next week's patch is going to entail, bar the TG. I will make a separate video about the testing grounds, as it is quite an impactful one for the top end of the skill bracket, and not too many happy campers as it seems, so I'll look at those problems in the upcoming days. Same goes for the second Lawbringer rework iteration, which looks a lot tamer than the initial one. More on that later. For now, let's concentrate on the one thing that I never thought would happen. Well, actually multiple things. For one, that I'll ever see anyone of the UI department. I always assumed that they are on permanent loan to a circus somewhere. But fair enough, here they were, presenting us with something very crucial. And yeah, if you couldn't guess by my many videos in the past and the comment just now, I think the UI department for the most part has done a horrible job in the last few years. And every change they show us enforces that belief. So I am very hesitant to get hyped about a new tutorial. Yes, you heard right, we are actually getting a new tutorial. A feature we've been requesting for a long time. A new onboarding process for new players and struggling player alike. A place where they can look up certain things that might be unclear. As many of you know, with the changes over the years, the current tutorial missions can't even all be finished properly. So it was definitely long overdue for changes. What I am skeptical about is that we do not know how far the contents of the tutorial have been changed. They didn't tell us too much. We know that some parts have been consolidated and that they've added a practice Dominion game against AI, the latter being a great idea in my opinion. Explaining point generation and priority, victory conditions and so on is really needed. How much details and potentially wrong information will get spread there remains to be seen. The fact that the UI team was in charge of this makes me fear for the worst, which is a rather negative way of looking at it, but their track record has been far from stellar. In short, I will put the magnifying glass on that new tutorial next week, and I will not hold back. You had all the opportunity in the world to reach out and ask what players are struggling with, how to structure a new tutorial, what needs a closer look, what feature needs an in-depth explanation. You know, shit like revenge, for example. If this tutorial is dog shit from the beginning, then believe me, you will hear it from me. I'm actually looking forward to it, as it's either gonna be fun reviewing or fun making the video. I'm hoping it'll be both. Enough of that, let's look at the character changes. First one is Nusha. This is exactly what the testing grounds entailed last time. No further adjustments. Traps now trigger 100 ms earlier during heavies and the zone attack. And then the trap itself is 100 ms faster. This doesn't stop the random countering of traps by doing stupid shit, but what it does is stop people from reacting to it. Nobody is doing that now anymore. Now, initially when Ubisoft mentioned the changes to Nusha during the TG, they also said that they will further build on it if these changes are viable. But we just got the TG changes without anything else, which might be a little problematic. Nusha does a ton of damage, and she has that, that one feat, Caltrops. We cannot have a viable version of Nusha with those numbers and that very feat. We need further adjustments as soon as possible. When I only saw that one slide, we were all like, yeah, there has to be a second page, but alas, there wasn't. Moving on, Warden changes. I also made a video about the characters somewhat underperforming. So what Ubisoft did was speed up the side finisher heavies to 800 ms. Any faster and we're getting into problematic territory like Orochi. 800 and unblockable might already be a tad too strong. Especially because of the hitbox adjustments. JC explicitly explained that they are now larger than the weapon model might suggest. He said that they flattened the trajectory significantly and it now hits external opponents much easier. Warden's forward movement on these heavies is not good, so that is a positive, because if he had huge forward movement on them, these would without a doubt be problematic. I'm looking forward to checking the actual size of the hitboxes. I hope they haven't overdone it. Furthermore, there was a shoulder bash change. Entering the move from forward dodge is now possible at 100 ms into the dodge. This makes interrupt attempts much harder, especially if done on movement. Same as early dodging to dodge again when the opponent dodges to avoid full charge. Previously, Warden had to level 2 charge to beat that. Now this might now be different or straight up no longer possible. We'll see. What this also does is let him feint earlier, right? Because if you don't have to wait the extra 200 ms of even entering the bash stance, you can also get out of it sooner now. Which in turn will allow him to parry light interrupts, dodge bashes and so on much more reliably without being stuck in an animation. This change in particular should even buff his already quite decent duel performance, but for the most part, I hope that the Warden mains will shut up now. That character is very far from the bottom. Then next up, Hitokiri changes to the heavies, damage down from 24 to 22. And those neutral heavies got hyper armor back. Yes, neutral heavy hyper armor without charging is a thing again. That one kicks in at 500 ms into the move. That's the same timing as Jormungandr. So if you've been trading with George, you can do that with Hito 2 now. The minimum charge time also changed to 300 ms. What this should translate to, if the warrior stand is correct, Hito will now have 700 ms neutral heavies with hyper armor. That can be variably charged as well. Which sounds insanely strong, to be honest. If you've watched the Dual Frenzy tournament, I explained how Centurion is strong because of the charged heavies. Now imagine these heavies with hyper armor. That's what Hito has now. Then the chain timing between opener heavy and chain heavy, no more cheeky interrupt attempts or any of that. Dodge windows are also smaller with that. I will test what you can now trade with by just repeatedly pressing the heavy button. And then a better zone attack hitbox. That was long overdue. It still takes 60 stamina though. Might want to change that as well. Overall, this will most likely conjure up quite a few complaints about her. Not like there was a lack thereof in the first place. I'm not sure whether the new heavies will work as an opener, but we will see after a few days. Then an Aramusha change, Blade Blockade got its exit stamina cost removed, but they increased the entering by 5. I'm not a fan of these stamina shift changes since they don't always make sense. We've seen that on Kyoshin most recently. Aramusha is quite stamina hungry anyways. Everybody who's played him knows that it's not that rare on occurrence to Blade Blockade and then not be able to throw anything out because you're out of stamina. Aramusha is another one of these heroes that are in the process of being power crept out of the top tiers. He doesn't need to be handled with silk gloves anymore. He can use some adjustments other than a tiny bit of extra stamina. And then last, Jormungandr, you can now perform the in-chain zone while out of lock. That will improve his minion clear. Quite the nice change, especially if we can adjust the direction properly. A welcome change. All in all, the patch has potential, especially the tutorial part. Let me know what you're looking forward to in particular, or if anything needs a more in-depth explanation. I understand that the Hitokiri part might be a little confusing. I'll try and do that one with a lot of examples next week, so it's clear what changed. For now, I think we're done. Hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.